Just like the other colors, red has its own god card with Hazared the Feverent, and geez, this is a pretty ridiculous card too. Most aggro decks like to get cards out of their hand as quick as possible, and considering Hazared falls into red, you'll likely meet this requirement really easy for it to attack with haste. Hot dog, that's just awesome. And if you like to have cards in your hand that aren't doing anything, or draw cards in your hand that aren't doing anything, you can just discard them and, well, do some damage. This can also be tough if you can't really cast all the cards in your hand but have Hazared in play. Either way, it's a pretty fantastic card, and it will likely see play in some decks, both in competitive and in casual. So do keep your eye out for this. Hazared's Trial is a little weird, considering it can be effective at times, but since red really isn't an enchantment color, or doesn't really work with enchantment super well, it might be difficult to find other ways other than play cartouches to, well, get it back in your hand. Speaking of other aggressive options, red has 2 more mythic rares that really pushed limits, and the first one of these is Combat Celebrant. This is basically a relentless assault on a stick, as long as you exert it. It can only be exerted once every 2 turns, but frankly, it should be pretty easy to get an extra combat phase pretty early in the game, which is pretty bombastic, and can likely be beneficial for most red decks, considering red decks want to be, well, usually want to be attacking. And for something like this, I think red really kind of wanted a card like this for, well, quite a while. Like I said, we do have things like Relentless Assault, but none of them are really on a creature. Well, there are, but there are few and far in between. I guess Wizards kind of realized that that Lightning Runner dude from the Kalish block really wasn't working out, so they need to push it a little bit harder. Our next red card that really is aggressively pushed is basically a tribute to Final Fortune. This card, Glorious End, is essentially a time stop for 3 mana. Like Final Fortune though, you will lose the game at the end of your next turn. This can be actually beneficial because, like Time Stop, it ends the turn immediately. This means it just goes straight to the end phase, doesn't do anything else, ignores all triggers that would happen, and just skips all over those phases. And from there, you get a whole another new turn before you either win the game or lose. I know that Final Fortune is a pretty popular card, and like it before itself, it works well with cards that prevent you from losing the game. Therefore, you can actually use this in turn with the new Gideon, and that actually may come in handy and may actually see a fruition or make a deck that's coming into fruition into Standard, which is, well, let's just face it, kind of exciting. Up next, we have a dragon. What a dragon is doing in Egypt, I'll never know. But honestly, this is actually a pretty cool dragon, the Glory Bringer. I mean, if that name isn't badass enough. This dragon is a 4/4 with haste, which you can exert and do 4 damage to, well, something else. It's not too bad, and although it is only a 4/4 for 5, which is not awful. I mean, Stormbreath Dragon was also a 4/4 for 5. This will likely be able to be played, considering dragons with haste usually have, well, a bit of playability to them. Seriously though, what is a dragon doing in Egypt?
It likes it here in Amonket. Oh, and it's not Egypt.
Yeah, but I know I don't have that much experience with Egyptian mythology, but I don't remember any dragons being in Egypt. Sphinxes, maybe, but, I mean, dragons... I never heard of dragons in Egypt. Sorry.
Do you ever stop complaining? I'm sick of you moaning all the time.
Well, you're a very harsh mentor.
No, Harsh Mentor is the next card you will review.
Oh, well, that's just ironic. Anyway, Harsh Mentor is, well, a very playable card. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2 that punishes your opponent whenever they activate an ability of a creature, artifact, or land, which, honestly, in long, grindy games will likely happen a couple times or 2. Granted, it does have to be a non-mana ability, but like I say, if the game is long, there likely will be something involved, and you'll likely be able to get a bit of value out of this creature. I'd highly recommend it, and considering some decks likely will run it in Eternal formats, or formats that never rotate, it may actually see play in those formats. Next up, we have the return of Anger of the Gods. Okay, maybe it's not Anger of the Gods, but it's pretty darn close. It's kind of an Anger of the Gods that you can cycle, except it doesn't exile stuff. Seriously though, why wasn't Anger of the Gods reprinted? It kind of makes sense. It's flavorful. It's there. They're gods. Why aren't they angry?
Stop assuming we're always angry and review more cards.
You're not helping. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. Red got a lot of other aggressive creatures that will likely be played in Standard and may even see play outside of that format. Starting off with the Soul Scar Mage, which is basically a Monastery Swiftspear except without haste, but it does get a pretty neat ability that does help Red deal with indestructible creatures. Although I think Red would rather be doing damage to players, I feel like this could have been a little bit more pushed since it is a rare, and honestly I think I would still rather play Monastery Swiftspear over a card like this. However, for Standard, I think it does have its uses, and it will likely see some play. If you love to cycle, Flamebed Adept may be a card that can really, I guess, be really aggressive. It does have Menace, but in addition to cycling, it can also benefit from an effect or a ability like Madness, which is still in Standard at the moment. For other formats like Legacy or Modern, I think there are definitely better things you can run. Goblin Guide is still better, Swiftspear is still better, but you never know. Maybe someone will actually build a fairly aggressive deck using this little guy. The On-Crop Crasher may actually see some play in Standard, considering it is pretty hasty and it can prevent other creatures from blocking. The stun-like abilities that prevent creatures from blocking are actually pretty nice when you have a red deck or any aggressive deck that really revolves around attacking. So this may actually see some play in Standard. It may be a little slow for a format like Modern, but I think it has potential for a younger format, so to speak. We also got this really aggressive Minotaur, which really is, well, a really aggressive Minotaur. 4/3, and all you have to do is discard a card. I mean, wow. I thought that, like, Mog Flunkies was, like, really, really good, like, back in the day, but this is really pushing the envelope. Speaking of Minotaurs, that Minotaur that you see in your Living End deck that kills flying things will no longer be in it, thanks to probably this card. A 6/4 cycling thing that is red. Although, maybe you want to run that Minotaur if you do encounter some flying creatures. I really think this is basically the whole hog, and it really just trumps that card into the dirt. No pun intended there, but really, that's pretty awesome. By the way, I have a question for you. Why is this card called Deem Worthy if it deals damage? You think that Deem Worthy would be like some sort of like plus X boost or something like that. But like, is it Deem Worthy of damage? Like, what's the deal with that?
Don't you dare insult card names. Each card name is perfect in each and every syllable.
Okay, well, I'll do it, but you gotta tell me what cards were reprinted for Red.
I know you will be excited for this classic red burn smell.
Really? That's it? You didn't want to reprint, I guess Aggravated Assault? I mean, we haven't seen that in a while. That card's really hard to find. Or how about Chain Lightning? Chain Lightning was really good. I mean, I guess Fling can be nice. Fling has known to be pretty good if you have big creatures. But honestly, I feel like we could use a burn spell that's a little less situational.
Also, don't forget about this card.
Honestly, this is like the 20th time we've got something similar, and plus no one's going to play that anymore because of the Cathartic Reunion from Kaladesh. So why on earth would anyone play that? That just doesn't seem right to me.